Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Switched On. We took a brief hiatus over the past couple weeks because I was traveling to Canada. So our parent company, Enthusiast Gaming, hosted the EGLX convention in Toronto. And I just got back from that, just in time for us to talk about the latest Nintendo Direct. I'm your host, Ben Lamoureux, and I'm joined by someone who might sound familiar to you if you caught our E3 podcast before we had sort of officially rebranded as Switched On. Everyone welcome Hombre to the show.
Hello, I'm Hombre and before I say anything else, I just want to criticize you, Ben. I'm going to call you out here. You went to Canada, and you're not going to apologize for not doing anything in the past few weeks?
Yeah, well, you know, it was all business. I wouldn't go to Canada, you know, of my own volition. Of course, I'm a red-blooded American, obviously. And our second guest today is a longtime editor and occasional writer from Gamnesia. Welcome aboard, Will Marsh.
Survivor of Topekachu, Kansas.
Yeah, we'll actually get to that in a little bit. We've got a lot of Pokemon news to talk about. Mainly we're going to be breaking down the Nintendo Direct in a little bit with all the exciting Smash news it contained. But we do have a bunch of Nintendo stories from the past few weeks, just while we've been taking some time off. So we'll start with a whole bunch of Pokemon news. The first thing we got on the docket here is that Generation 4 Pokemon have finally arrived in Pokemon Go. So I think we've talked about that on a couple past episodes, that Niantic had been teasing it for a while, but they are finally here. And I'm pretty excited just because I love Gen 4 and especially the Gen 4 starters, but I've been pretty busy lately, so I haven't actually had much time to go out and start catching them yet. How about you guys?
I haven't played Pokemon Go since they revamped the gym system to a far inferior system than the first one. So there you go.
Are you just done with it out of principle now?
It's not exactly out of principle. It's just that the game, I mainly played it for the gym. I live in a somewhat small city, especially by American standards, where, back a year ago we had maybe 30 gyms in the city, maybe, let's just say. And it became a very fun kind of territorial game. So I have my area, I can see 3 gyms from here, just where I live. And then, you bike for 5 minutes, there's a couple more downtown and whatever, and it's become more like, oh, well, these are kind of my gyms, and because it's not a big city, it becomes very territorial. We have different areas where people group together. It's like, well, this is our area.
Right, you just kind of get used to like the blue side of town and the red side of town.
Yeah, exactly. And we really enjoy playing it just for that territorial conquest of things. When they revamped the gym system, it became too easy it becomes simultaneously too easy and too hard to knock people out. Way too easy because there weren't as many defending Pokemon, and also way too difficult when they introduced, I can just feed them gold berries at a distance.
Yeah.
So if you're unlucky and someone happens to be online, you can just sit there and spam his berries, and you're
Especially
out there.
Especially if they have like a Blissey or something that just absorbs your time.
Yeah, exactly. And keep in mind too that for like half of the year it's cold outside, so you don't want to be out at 10 in the evening, like freezing your fingers off trying to get a gym. It's just really frustrating.
Right.
And then you have other problems as well with the kind of as gym battles and raids kind of increase, they rearranged the resource economy, where Pokestops wouldn't give you as many potions. You needed to do gym battles to get those on any sort of stable basis, and it's just, I don't know, poor game design decisions by Niantic. I'm wagging my finger here.
Yeah, I actually didn't play it too much with the old gym system. I didn't get into it really until a few months ago, so I don't have it to compare, but I could see how that would be frustrating if that was your favorite part of the whole experience, and all of a sudden it just sort of changed rapidly.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Pokemon Go is that you can have two goals. One is, I want to catch every Pokemon. Okay, fair enough. what are you going to do aside from that? There's gym battles. And I think now, do they have trainer battles now? Like player versus player?
Yeah, I don't think that's here yet, is it, Will?
Okay.
Not that I know of. I think you have trading now, but it's only like
Yeah.
local and not online.
And they have to be your friend to do the trading. I was going to say, I know they've teased it, but I didn't think that... I've only, I've got a handful of friends, but I rarely, actually meet up with them physically with our Pokemon Go games going, so I wasn't sure if they had added that in between friends or not.
Gotcha, yeah. So this really only... I mean, trading just adds to the goal of catching every Pokemon, really. And the other thing you can do is fight in gyms. That's sort of the other goal that you have. You can do those two things in the game. The rest is just filler. You catch another Pidgey, or another Bidoof, and you get some experience, and you get some candy, and you get a tiny bit of Stardust. Like, Pokemon are just resources. You convert them to resources.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the reason you catch your 501st Ekans? Well, it's because you get the Stardust. Okay, that's and the original Pokemon games aren't like that. If the game had been different, where you could, for instance, pal up with any Pokemon and make it pretty good, that would be a lot more interesting because you can build your dream team. It's like, I want a team with. You go for the extreme example. I want a team with like a bird team. I want all the coolest birds. And I want those to be in a team, and I want them to be good, and fight gyms together. Okay, that's cool. But in Pokemon Go, only certain Pokemon are any good at all to either attack gyms or defend gyms.
Right, and there's no way to sort of change their internal value stats.
Yeah, exactly. So you're very limited in the terms of things that you can do, and I don't understand why they made that decision, because I would imagine it would be just easier to have it something akin to the original system where every Pokemon is between level 1 and 100, and you level them up and you can do whatever you want with whichever Pokemons you want, and they would have a bit varying attack and defense stats and these kinds of things, but not at all to the extent that it is now, where you can't do... like you said, a Blissey, for instance, you can do great things with a Blissey. But then you have a Pokemon like a Tauros, for instance. What can they do?
That's true. I remember when I was more active and they had just introduced Gen 2, and the old gym system was still in place. Blissey was such a damage sponge. It was ridiculous, pretty hard to overpower.
So I understand there was also an event in Topeka, Kansas pretty recently, and Will, you're not too far from there, so you were in attendance, right?
Yes, I was. So, yeah, my sister and I decided to hit that up last weekend, and it was pretty fun overall. So it was in Gage Park in Topeka, or Topekachu, like they did 20 years ago. But, parking was kind of a nightmare because the Topeka Zoo, which it shared a parking lot with, also had their own Halloween costume event going on. So maybe not the best planning there. But, overall I enjoyed it. You had a couple of big trucks with demos set up, one for Pikachu and one for Eevee, and then, their own respective lines. And so my sister and I got in different lines because we were basically planning on getting, opposite versions. And, like I said, it was fun, but I don't know if it holds up to a cost-benefit analysis in that I ended up waiting, 4 hours in line to play a 5 to 8 minute demo.
Oh yeah, that's rough. Yeah, it was about 2.5 to 3 hour wait to play the Pokemon games at E3 this year, and I think we got to play for around 15 to 20 minutes maybe. So that's a pretty rough ratio there for you guys, especially so close to release too.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I did it for Smash 4 several years ago, which was also in the area, but at least there was a little more mystery to Smash, I felt, at least, because also I was super hyped to try Mega Man, so it was worth it at the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall it was fun. It got to chat with people in line just about Pokemon and the Smash leaks, and I I talked to one guy who was totally convinced it was real, Grinch and all, so make of that what you will.
I make of that people will believe whatever they want to believe.
But yeah, as for the demo itself, it was pretty interesting. Basically, you just got to play in Viridian Forest for a few minutes, and I don't remember how much gameplay we've seen up until now, but you had, as opposed to random encounters, you could see like just wild Pokemon on the overworld, and then if you bumped into them, you'd have a Pokemon Go-esque
isn't that the same as the
encounter.
E3 demo?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about switching to the Go catching mechanics, but I do really like the fact that you see Pokemon on the overworld similar to Go. I think that's a really nice touch that just kind of makes it a more immersive experience. You know, I've been saying that I feel like the Let's Go games, like when you play them, it's going to feel like this is the game you thought you were playing as a kid. Like you're going back to Kanto, but it's HD now, and there's like all this attention to detail, and you can see Pokemon in the overworld map. I think it's just going to kind of be like, you know, the sort of imagination that you had about Pokemon as a kid. And, you know, yeah, they've changed up a lot of the mechanics, and, you know, there's going to be a lot of kickback, or a lot of, people upset with that, probably. But I think overall they're going to have more happy customers than they do unhappy ones.
You know, I think that I have to say this. As much as I was kind of criticizing Pokemon Go there, I really think that the Let's Go games they're really neat. I mean, they're not for the hardcore Pokemon fans by any stretch of the imagination, but I really did see them. I tried them out at Gamescom. The E3 lines were too long.
Yeah,
but and I mean, especially with the little Pokeball controller, it was. I mean, it was neat. It was fun, not too fun for me, I guess. But I mean,
that's kind of how I felt.
For all I mean, for all the, I mean, imagine all the kids that are playing Pokemon Go. I don't know if you have any kids in like your surroundings or family or anything, but kids are hooked on Pokemon Go. They're all hooked on Pokemon Go, and they're going to be hooked on this thing.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I don't know if this was the case at the previous demos, but we also got to play with the Pokeball controller, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah, so I will say the catching itself was a lot trickier than I expected. Like, so often I would end up like throwing it too far or way off to the side. So this is going to sound really dirty, but you have to be so precise with like angle and force.
Yeah. The first couple ones I threw kind of like came out like a little awkward or sideways, but I got the hang of it eventually. I feel like they could maybe make it just a little simpler to throw in the future. It does feel like it's a little precise at times. So.
Yeah, and then I had
especially since, like, you know, Hombre said there's going to be a lot of little kids playing this, so like, just make it as simple as possible to flick that Pokeball.
Yeah, and then I had a war of attrition with this Jigglypuff who took like 3 successful throws at least to catch.
Oh man, yeah, that's always frustrating.
Yeah, and so toward the end of the demo, I ended up getting like 2 trainer battles, and it was about what you'd expect, like same basic battle system and all that. It was, I think they had 1 Pokemon apiece, and then I just one-shotted them with my Eevee, pretty much. But yeah, that was still intact and seemed pretty straightforward. So, like I think we've been saying before, it seems like a really cool combination of like the Go mechanics and more traditional stuff as a gateway of sorts. Yeah,
definitely. We also got a little more news on some of the features in the game, including like some post E3, post Elite Four content. There's going to be master trainers in the game, so there'll be, I guess, like 150 of them, or maybe 151. I'm not sure if they'll have them for all the legendaries or not, but these master trainers will each just be like the best at training one specific Pokemon. So like there's a Pikachu master and a Caterpie master and a Charizard master.
Do you think youngster Joey's going to be there with his Rattata?
He better.
All the way from Johto. But yeah, so you can just travel. They'll like spawn, it looks like, around the map in places that make sense. Like it looked like the Metapod Master spawns in Viridian Forest after you beat the Elite Four. and so you can just re-travel the world finding all these people, and they're all dressed in like the same uniform, so you can tell who they are. And yeah, if you can challenge them and beat them just in a one-on-one match with your Pokemon versus their Pokemon, then you can like claim the title of, you know, Bidoof Master or whatever. Well, not Bidoof since that's Gen 4, but, you know, Rattata Master.
Okay, so wait, you have to challenge them with the same Pokemon?
Yeah.
So it's like Rattata versus Rattata.
Exactly. And it looks like, from all the footage, it looks like their Pokemon will be at level 75. I don't know if they cap you at that as well, or if you're allowed to train past that. It wasn't really clear from the footage.
That's cool. I like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I'm hoping there's also some more, like, diverse, you know, challenges at the end. Like, you know, maybe you fight gym leaders from past generations or something like that. You know, they've done that before. But it would be nice to have some post-Elite Four challenges aside from just 1v1 battles. It's a really cool new idea, but I'm hoping there's just, you know, a depth of options.
Yeah, like, I think it's interesting because basically, kind of like Steven was saying a few episodes ago, I've always been kind of a lapsed Pokemon player. Like, I last got really into it with Silver and then was kind of off of it until Soul Silver, which I still think is one of the coolest remakes I've ever seen.
Oh, it's so good.
And then I got like one gym into X and then kind of fell off. Did play through the whole main game of Moon and had a lot of fun with that. But one thing I've noticed that I think like my one problem with Pokemon, just gameplay-wise, is that the post-game really only entertains me for so long, for the most part, and then it's like... And then I guess I could, in theory, you know, just go back and replay it, but at the same time, I'm also so attached to that team that, like, I don't want to commit genocide by starting over, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean.
But, yeah, like, so with Moon, for example, I spent, like, maybe another hour or two post-game, but then once I had caught all the Tapus and Ultra Beasts and what have you, I was good, really.
Yeah, it's like, now that they have the Pokemon Bank, you can at least store them there if you want to do a fresh start, but it is kind of like, wow, you know, I've invested 100 hours or whatever into building this specific team, and, like, the fact that you only get the one save slot in Pokemon is still a little frustrating. But at least with Switch, you can just, like, you know, change to a different Switch profile or whatever, and then you don't have to worry about losing your Pokemon, so...
Yeah, good point. That'll be nice.
Yeah. So, Junichi Masuda, the producer of Pokemon, had kind of an interesting quote related to Let's Go. He said he kind of thinks of it as potentially the starting point for the next 20 years of Pokemon. And so he didn't get like too specific into what he means, and, you know, it's the internet, so people are going to draw their own conclusions. I don't think he's remotely saying, like, we're going to do games like this for 20 years. What I get out of this is, you know, like we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of brand new, bright-eyed Pokemon Go fans who are going to pick up Let's Go, and it will be their first ever, you know, sort of collect the 8 badges, beat the Elite Four kind of experience. So to me, what he's saying is, you know, Pokemon's been around for 20 years. Now we're attracting this whole new audience, and we're doing it with a game that isn't afraid to sort of break some of the conventions and experiment a little. And I think that's what he means. Like, this is going to pave the way for the next 20 years for, you know, the next generation of kids to come in, fall in love with Pokemon, and we're not going to be afraid to try different things and give them different experiences. Alongside, you know, the same core experience that they've always expected, because, you know, we still have that coming in 2019. So I think they're just sort of trying to say, like, hey, we're going to keep making Pokemon the way we've always made it, but also new people coming in, we're going to try new things. And I think it's a good strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think also that some things that... I think that they will probably try to hold on to, for at least a while, try to hold on to this mechanic of capturing Pokemon by throwing in specific ways, because I think that's not... It's fun, not only for kids. It's a new game mechanic where it's not just selecting the Pokeball and spamming down and B as hard as you can. It's
which totally works.
It's about, you know, doing curveballs and throwing at the right time and stuff. I mean, these mechanics are fun and they're intuitive, and I think that I don't know how. I mean, they could definitely do it with motion controls, as we've already seen. For stylus games, if they want to keep doing that as well, that would work equally as well. And I think that, yeah, I don't know, maybe they will want to try to incorporate the real world, so to speak, more into Pokemon games.
Like with augmented reality?
I mean, augmented reality, I mean, for phones, certainly yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, when it comes to console games, I mean that's another thing entirely. But it could be the thing that, hey, the Switch is a portable console. What happens if you take Pokemon and you go down to a coastal town and you play the game there? Maybe your encounters will change. These kinds of things.
And they've talked about that they're opening theme parks in Japan and in the U.S., and they've talked about, hey, bring your Switch along. We'll have ways for your Switch to interact with the theme park. They haven't really gotten into what all that would be, but that's a great idea, like you brought up with different Pokemon spawning depending on your real life location.
See, that's kind of what I had hoped for when in the early stages of Pokemon Go. Like, for example, you now at least have Pokemon adapting to the weather and stuff, which I think is pretty cool. But one idea I had early on was maybe, like, I'll go to the local rec center and you see mostly Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan type stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be kind of a cool twist.
Yeah, I would really like to see something like using the local weather in Pokemon battles. So it's raining in real life, well, okay, then it's going to rain in the game, and water Pokemon are obviously going to be benefited from that.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of cool ways they could implement that. Especially as, tech just makes it so, like, you can always be plugged into, like, a weather app or whatever, so...
Yep.
Yes. And then my other big takeaway was, say we get a Let's Go sequel set in Johto or something, maybe Topeka can rebrand as Tokapeka, Kansas.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah, we spitballed that in the Facebook comments, I think. Or someone came up with that pun, and I was like, yeah, maybe for a sequel.
So, Masuda actually had another interesting quote over the past couple weeks. A lot of people have noticed that there's a bit of a difference between your rival in the Let's Go games and the rival in the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, which was, the sort of Gary Oak-esque character Blue, who was just a total jerk. He no matter what, he was always ahead of you. He always beats the gym before you. He'll show up when your Pokemon are almost dead, and then whoop you before you have a chance to heal. He always says "smell you later." It's so memeable. Just what a big jerk he was. And in recent games, they've really toned that down with the rivals. Most of them are more like friendly rivals or even companions than competitors. And it looks like that's going to be sort of the case with the Let's Go games as well. So Masuda was asked about that, and he says basically they kind of had to give these characters a lot more like vibrant, obvious personalities because of the limitations of the hardware back then. And then he also said that he thinks that just today's crowd might not be as receptive to like a total jerk character that you see all the time as like kids in the 90s would have been.
Stop hating on the 90s kids, Ben.
We like jerks, all right?
Yeah. I will say I did notice the same thing with, I forget his name, but the rival in Sun and Moon, who's just like
Is it How, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it too much on the one hand, and then also, I mean, the nice thing is that doesn't necessarily correlate to too easy or less difficult. Because I remember when playing Moon, I think you have like one more battle with him before the Elite Four, and if I remember correctly, his Alolan Raichu practically one-shotted a couple of my Pokemon right out the gate.
Oh, nice.
So,
you know what they should have? It would be easy solution to all of this. They should just start introducing some sort of basic dialogue options. So you meet your rival, and you can be a jerk to him, and he'll be a jerk back. Or you can, take another direction and be super friendly, and then you'll evolve some sort of a friendly relationship going forward.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I kind of like that. Yeah, I think there's a compromise to be made here. We don't need, like, the super obvious, like, two-dimensional villain Gary Oak type character as hilarious as it is. But also, yeah, like, some of these rivals, I don't even think you can call them a rival. They're more like, a really friendly best friend that sometimes fights with you but doesn't really compete with you.
Which is the game with Lysandre, where he's the villain? Which game?
Oh, that's Black and White, right?
No.
No, it's X and
idea.
Y. It's X and Y. That's
X
right.
and Y, yes.
Yeah,
X and
where
Y.
he's
There
like
we go.
obsessed
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like beauty and fashion or whatever.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wants
yeah.
to like remake the
Well,
world.
that was the last Pokemon game I played. So I'm just gonna reference that. But I remember the rival, quote unquote, in that was so hunky dory and like, oh, you beat me, hooray! Now I can improve. And it's like, just Why don't you just, like, throw hearts around everywhere? Like, it's so in your face,
Yes.
cutesy, and nice. And it's like, they don't even feel bad when you beat them. It's like, I beat you. Oh, thank you. No, that's not...
Yeah, I kind of like the balance of... Hombre, I don't think you watched the show, Will. I can't remember, you may or may not, but there's a show, My Hero Academia. It's an anime, and, like, the characters in it tend to have this sort of... this relationship where, like, outside of competition, they're really good friends, and they're always there to support each other and to, like, stand up when someone's in trouble. But, like, once they're competing in something, they, like, step right up to, someone that was just their friend 5 minutes ago, and they're like, hey, just so you know, I'm aiming for the top, and if you get in my way, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to go right through you, so don't expect me to take it easy. And I kind of like that balance.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how people are in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me and my best friend, we, best friends and stuff, but we were always going really hard on each other when it came to competition and sports and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, it's friendly competition, but it's still competition.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot more realistic than, like you said, where you beat someone in a battle and then they thank you for it,
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah, exactly. So one last little bit of Pokemon news. We've been talking a lot about Meltan in previous episodes, the mysterious little industrial nut Pokemon that started popping up in Pokemon Go. So they have officially revealed that he'll have an evolution called Melmetal, and so you'll unlock that by collecting 400 Meltan candies. And this dude is just like a big, hulking steel golem. He looks pretty intimidating, or at least as intimidating as like a pile of nuts and bolts can look.
Mm-hmm. And I still don't even have enough Magikarp candy for Gyarados, so that ain't happening.
Long.
But yeah, I've been like very off and on with Pokemon Go ever since the gym overhaul, and never really learned that. Hopefully, some friends will drag me to a raid eventually. But yeah, I haven't run into Meltan or even Bidoof somehow yet.
Yeah, I don't think Meltan's currently available. Like, I think it was just the sort of Dittos posing as Meltan for a while, and then he'll be, like, officially added to the game sometime soon, like, maybe in conjunction with Let's Go. But, yeah, They've got that, like, special box coming soon that you can use to summon them, and then, yeah, you gotta collect 400 of them, it looks like, to get
Right. So, yeah, I didn't even see, like, the Ditto fake out yet or anything, aside from the news.
So he looks fine to me. I think we have, like, more than enough big hulking golem-type Pokemon, but, like, I like his design better than any of the Regis, the legendaries from Gen 3. So it's more that I just feel like the hulking golem Pokemon thing has been overdone, but I like this design better than the previous one. So if we could just, like, retcon the Regis out of existence, I'd be okay with that.
And is Meltan officially considered a legendary? I forget.
He's a mythical, which is like,
okay.
It's kind of poorly defined, but technically he's a mythical.
Because I was thinking, like, if so, he would be, like, the first one to evolve, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be.
I think that's right. But again, it's one of those weird things where, like, the lines between the two are so blurry sometimes, it's, like, hard to tell which Pokemon fall in what classifications. Thankfully, there's, like, Cerebi and Bulbapedia, so... Alright, so if that's all we got about Pokemon news, we'll move on to our next set of news, which is the expanded Nintendo universe. They've been kind of having this emphasis over the last few years of sort of rebranding themselves in the public opinion as not just a video game company, but as an entertainment company. Because, of course, they've been around since the 1800s as like a playing card company and a board game company and a toy company. And, they've mostly shifted to video games, but they want to do a lot more, especially in the realm of movies and TV shows and theme parks. So they've been working on a theme park in Japan for a few months now. I think they started maybe late this spring or early this summer. And now they've just broken ground on Super Nintendo World in Hollywood. And then they've got a couple more planned, too. I think in total they have 4 coming so far. And the one in Japan is supposed to be open by 2020. The other ones, there's not really concrete official dates as far as I know. There's been kind of rumblings about like 2023 or something, but it seems like at the moment that's all just sort of conjecture. But yeah, it's happening. Nintendo's building theme parks all over the world where you're going to be able to come in and like experience like Mario rides, Donkey Kong rides, Zelda rides, that sort of thing. And I think it's a pretty awesome move for the brand to spread awareness.
Probably, yeah. I'm going to be a bit of a downer here.
Bring it.
Yeah. it's just, I mean, there are exceptions, of course. Like, for instance, having something like a wooden Donkey Kong themed roller coaster where you sit in wooden barrels and, or mine carts.
Mine carts would be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be really cool. But for the most part, it's just, look, it's just like Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. I don't see the point. It's just, hey, here's a roller coaster. It has your favorite Disney princess on it. Okay. It's just a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, hey, if they're good roller coasters, great. I don't need them to be themed. Mm-hmm. Unless there are specific instances. Like I say, if you have an all-wooden roller coaster and it's Donkey Kong themed, that adds to it. But if you have, here's one metal roller coaster and has a Mario head for a cart. Okay, that doesn't do all that much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When it comes to individual rides like that, like you said, it's often not going to add anything specific to the ride. But I do like the idea of being able to go and just sort of immerse yourself in this artificial Nintendo world for a few hours, surrounded by other people that love Nintendo.
No, it's a cool idea, and it's cool in the same way that Disney World or Disneyland is cool, where it's like, oh, do you love this thing? Well, come here because this is a big party with all the things that you love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good business move, and like you said, brand awareness for sure is going to be good for it.
Anything else, Will? Should we move on?
Yeah, I haven't thought a whole lot about that in recent months, I'll admit. I guess one idea I had just now, spitballing, is maybe for like toddler or younger kids area, you could have like a Safari Zone daycare with like a bunch of Pokemon mascots.
Oh, that'd be
and
cool.
what have you. That was one thing I left out of To Pikachu earlier. You also had a Pikachu and Eevee mascot who were going around posing for pictures in the awful, awful heat. Bless their hearts. Poor guys took a break often, but yeah, they were troopers.
Yeah, that's a tough job wearing that suit. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And just as you were saying it, I was thinking like they could even make that a Pokemon Snap kind of adventure. You ride a little kiddie train through the Safari Zone, taking pictures as you go.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, that could avenge the Wii U Pokemon Snap sequel we never got.
Yeah,
such a wasted opportunity.
It's unfortunate.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, if they come up with some unique activities like that would, I mean, for instance, Pokemon Snap, that would work. You wouldn't be able to pull that off with other brands necessarily. Yeah,
and that's the main thing Nintendo has going for it. It's just they have such a depth of characters with interesting and diverse backgrounds that they can work with. You can be on a like you said, a Donkey Kong minecart or a Pokemon Safari or whatever. They've got all this material to work with. It's just up to them to actually make something unique and interesting instead of just, well, here's a roller coaster, but we put Mario on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of like cool Zelda ideas right now, for example, and nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't have any good Zelda ones, but we went to Japan recently, me and Aloysia, my fiance, and in Tokyo they have these this Mario Kart thing you can do where you actually sit in carts, you can have Mario costumes, and you just drive down the streets.
Is that the one that Nintendo sued?
Yes, that's the one that they sued. And I wanted to do it, but I didn't have an international driving license, or a Japanese one for that matter, so I couldn't do it. But I wanted to.
Yeah, it sounds and looks super fun. It's just unfortunately not licensed.
Womp womp.
So, in other Nintendo Expanded Universe news, there have been reports, nothing confirmed yet, that the producer of the Castlevania Netflix series is in talks to do a Zelda show. And, this isn't the first time we've heard about Netflix trying to acquire Zelda, so it's possible this is just, an old rumor getting recycled, or it's possible that it's, been true this whole time and that Netflix has been in on and off again, pretty steady talks for a few years, and that they just haven't quite found, the magic combination of people to attach to the show to get Nintendo to say yes. But, I haven't finished season 2 yet, but from what I've seen, I'm a pretty big fan of the Castlevania show. So it's tough to nail a Zelda show, but I don't know.
It's gonna
I feel
be
like
harder.
they could do it, maybe. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I would put myself on the same boat. I finished watching the Season 2 Castlevania the other day. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I will say I'm not a a big fan of the series. I haven't played a lot of games. I played Castlevania 4, and that's it.
Okay.
On Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I really liked Super Castlevania 4 on the SNES Classic, and then just recently grabbed the Requiem bundle with Symphony of the Night on PS4. But yeah, I'm super new to the series.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about anything like faithful adaptation stuff like that. I would expect a Zelda show also to take some creative liberties, just like they did with Castlevania. But I think they pulled it off well with Castlevania. Everything. To me, felt like, okay, I mean, everything felt appropriate. Everything felt good. Action was nice. And I like that they keep it... I mean, it's being renewed for a third season. So, I mean, it's going to keep going. But, I mean, the season aren't long. They're not dragging. They're kind of short. They're to the point. And
they make every minute
feels
count.
good watching it. Yeah. And we had that demo reel, right, of a Zelda... what a Zelda series could be a couple of years back. Do you remember?
Yeah, there was
that?
a pitch. I don't remember what studio it was from, but yeah, there was like a 4-minute animated pitch.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like that, and you're also seeing fans create their own mini stories and animated YouTube videos and stuff like that. Do you know this one guy like Ravon Link or something? He makes these really gorgeous 3D animations.
Okay, I'll have to check them out. I don't think I'm familiar, but
yeah, there's like one about like Ganondorf's upbringing that he
nice.
made.
Nice.
It's like it looks really cool, and I think that, I mean, with the right talent, they can make a story that's not necessarily, because I think if you're gonna try to adapt Ocarina of Time, for instance, that's gonna come under a lot of scrutiny.
yeah,
That has to
sure.
be perfect. Yeah, so I think if you can move a little bit outside of the main games and make something that heavily derives from a game, but isn't the story. Oh, this is Twilight Princess, the series, or Ocarina of Time, the series.
yeah. I think your best bet is just to make something that captures like the tone and main themes of one or more games in the series. If you're just following a game script like all the way, games and movies or games and shows, they're two different experiences. Games are so much about like the player input and the player control and everything. So I think it's more important that you just really get like the central feeling of what is a Zelda adventure about, and then you can craft your own original story around that borrows from the games but doesn't just stick to a script.
Exactly, because that way, even if you end up doing not a stellar job, you at least won't be flailed online for bastardizing someone's favorite
Right.
game.
Yeah, my big takeaways from that were, I remember when it was just a few years ago when we had the eventually debunked Wall Street Journal reports of a Netflix series, and I think they specifically said that would be live action, if I'm not mistaken, which...
I believe so.
That I was super not sold on, but I remember thinking to myself, well, if it was animated, maybe. And then Castlevania has definitely proven that potential. And then another thing I've kind of pondered is, how do you handle Link's silence or lack thereof? And the way I see it, there's a couple of different ways you can handle that. Like, on the one hand, I was actually really impressed with, in Breath of the Wild, how they handled his silence or lack thereof. Like, in one of the journals in the game, they give, like, an actual canonical explanation for why he's so quiet. And then in the voice-acted cutscenes, they actually did a pretty good job, I thought, of kind of weaving the dialogue around his silence in a way that still felt totally natural. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, I haven't read as many of these, but there's also been manga adaptations of various games over the years, and I believe in those, Link actually does speak, and then depending on the game they're adapting, he has a pretty distinct, nuanced personality. So, I don't know, like, assuming it's an animated series kind of with the same production value as Castlevania, I can see that working either way if they get the tone and writing down.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards not speaking, and then, you could use, like, for instance, like flashback scenes or just, kind of showing what's going on inside his mind to keep you in character with him and, understanding what he's going through and everything. I think it might be a little jarring in a show versus a manga to have, it's a little different to hear a voice coming out of his mouth versus just to see text that represents what he's saying. But
Yeah.
they have options, and given what they've done with Castlevania, I think they could succeed.
When it comes to Link's voice, though, I really think if they're gonna go the route of, like you said, Ben, kind of borrowing from other games but making its original story, I think they might as well go for voice acting Link. I mean, they pulled off Zelda in Breath of the Wild not so well with the American voice actor, I would say. The Japanese was much better. That's just my
I
opinion.
thought she was okay in English.
Okay, whatever.
To each their own.
But,
Yeah, I don't have a
Yeah.
hard opinion one way or the other. It was all right.
I didn't love her
Right.
performance, but I liked it enough.
Right, and I'm thinking that if you have something that's not, like I say, Wind Waker Link or Ocarina of Time Link, if you have your kind of own original story, I think you can definitely have a Link that also speak and pull it off to a level that will at least be acceptable by most people. Like we said, you're going to have to put more effort into a Zelda series versus a Castlevania series. But I mean, it can definitely be done. Mario isn't exactly a mute, but he's had multiple animated series with multiple voices, and that's worked out pretty well.
And a movie on the way.
You need to, yeah, right. And you need to remember also a thing, which is that one of the main reasons that Link is silent is because he's supposed to be kind of your avatar, right? As the game's protagonist, you are Link. You insert yourself in Link.
Right.
You can't do that in the same way with a series or a movie because it's narrative driven. You are not in control. So it makes more sense for Link to kind of be more of his own character in a TV series as opposed to a game.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one last bit of news in regards to Nintendo branching out. This one isn't too terribly interesting, but we have what is supposedly a leaked synopsis of the Detective Pikachu movie, and what it basically amounts to is it's the same plot as the game. I think they made the main character like 2 years older or something like that, but otherwise, if this is an accurate summary, then they're sticking pretty closely to at least the synopsis of the game, but it's vague enough in the details that who knows how that actually plays out. It mostly just goes over sort of the events that lead to the start of the film. So whether it sticks to the game plot throughout and kind of like follows the story missions or does its own thing, that remains unclear. I'm hoping it branches out a little bit and puts a spin on things. But like we were saying before, borrow from games, get the tone right, but then kind of do your own thing with the story.
See, my main source of excitement for that movie had been I've only played the demo of the game, haven't had the full game yet. But I remember a year or two ago, we had seen reports that Alex Hirsch of Gravity Falls fame was going to be working on the script. But then I was just doing a little news catch-up before recording here, and according to a Screen Rant article from January, his name is not on the final script from the press release. So yeah, if he's not involved anymore, that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, I'm hoping it'll be good.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't heard that. That's unfortunate if he's not there anymore. But all right, so moving on to Nintendo just had a shareholders meeting recently. About 4 times a year they meet with all the money people and tell them how the business has been doing, how they think it's going to be doing in the future, and then they do kind of a Q&A. So we've got just some sort of rapid-fire stats here from that. Switch has passed up GameCube in terms of lifetime sales. It's up over 22 million now. And of course, GameCube wasn't exactly a major seller. It's one of Nintendo's least successful home consoles, but it still had, a 5-year lifespan, and Switch has passed it up in just about a year and a half. So that speaks to just how fast of a start Switch has gotten off to. And then
that is.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say that is good.
It is good.
I imagine these like board meetings and how they're going, and I'm just. Imagine these older Japanese men sitting there like, just kind of nodding like a little bit and just going like,
When do we get to play the games?
Yeah, and then occasionally you get dummies with questions.
Yeah.
Nintendo's Q&A sessions are always interesting. Like, you get a lot of the standard business questions, but there's usually like one or two people that just ask something completely out of left field. Like Will said, there was a guy who complained, like, why aren't we playing these games right now? Well, because you're in a shareholders meeting? I don't know what you expected.
It would make the shareholders meeting more fun.
I guess so, yeah. Or, distract them from bad sales numbers if you have a bad quarter.
Yeah.
So going along with the Switch sales, Nintendo told investors at the start of the fiscal year that they intended to sell 20 million Switches this year. So they've sold just over 20 million total in a year and a half, and they're expecting to do 20 million in this fiscal year, which is April 1st, 2018 through March 31st of 2019. So they're halfway through that period, and they've only sold 5 million. But they're not backing down from the 20 million prediction. They still are telling investors right now, by March 31st, we'll have sold 20 million Switches for the year. So they're expecting another 15 million over the next 6 months. What do you guys think of that? Do you think they're being too bold, too cocky, or do you think that is attainable?
On the one hand, I think it does come off as cocky, like on paper. On the other hand, holiday with new Pokemon and Smash, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the holiday is going to be huge, especially with those two games. I don't know if they have anything big planned for the winter or spring. I mean, that's going to sell consoles. I think 20 million it's a bit excessive.
Yeah.
10, 15, definitely attainable.
Yeah, 20 million is a big number. So for reference, typically game companies like Nintendo are going to make about 50% of their sales over the last 6 weeks of the calendar year, so like Black Friday till New Year's. So if Nintendo has sold 5 million through the first 6 months, and then we'll assume give them about half that for the spring quarter coming up after the holiday season, so that would put them at like 7.5 million through those 9 months. So then that means if you're going by sort of, what you tend to expect normally, they would then sell another 7.5 million during that Christmas season for 15 million total.
So
and I've seen some other analysts put it at around 16 million as the expectation. But I will say, I don't know if there's ever been a Christmas season like this before where they had in back-to-back months, well, actually 3 months in a row, where you have Mario Party, Pokemon, and Smash Bros. Those are three just huge titles. So I think they can do even better than the typical Christmas season. It's going to be close. I think 20 million is attainable, but if there's no supply shortages, if they keep retailers stocked, and if they keep airing Pokemon commercials and Smash Bros commercials on TV, there's a chance they could get it, but it's not going to be easy at all.
How many consoles do these titles usually sell? Like, how many consoles can we attribute to Smash for Wii U, for instance?
Smash for Wii U, not too many, but I would have to go back. I'd have to do a lot more research to kind of get a good grip.
Right. What I'm saying is that someone should do all that research, and then another site should take credit for that reporting.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, I expect Pokemon to be a huge system seller with those those Go players hopefully moving up to Let's Go.
Yeah, I think so too, because here's the thing. All those kids that are going to see that game and they're going to want it, and it's coming right up on Christmas, there's an enormous potential for that, especially if they make some sort of bundle, maybe lower the price a little bit to make it more attractive.
So that's the one barrier
parents.
I see, is that Nintendo has been at this point completely unwilling to offer a lower price point. And I get it, they're selling a lot of consoles, so there's no immediate market pressure to have a price cut. But it's a $300 system, so if you want to buy your kid a Switch plus Pokemon, and then if you want the Pokeball accessory, which is the preferred way to play it, you're already up over $400 for your Christmas present. So that is the one area where I'm maybe seeing a barrier to this 20 million number, just because they're going to sell a ton, but there's a whole lot of people that aren't willing to shell out 300 right now, or 400 counting games, for what is primarily a handheld device that can also function as a home console. That's a little more than what Nintendo typically asks.
Yep. I'll have to.
It'll be interesting to see, like I think we've discussed on previous episodes. I've seen arguments for and against whether they would want to sell Switches without the dock, especially as we get closer to Pokemon season. But I feel like it could be a good idea, especially well, of course, once those games come out, and then in theory you can, still have a dock or two and then multiple Switches per
Right.
household.
And they are doing that in Japan already.
Are they? Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
They
yeah.
haven't
Yeah, they
brought
are,
it to the
but-
U.S. or Europe or a lot of other countries yet. But
Yep.
in Japan, you can get it for, I think it's basically the yen equivalent of like $250 to buy a Switch without the dock and the charging cable.
Yeah, I think that came out just around the time that we were there, because we were seeing all kinds of signage for it, and they made a big deal about it. Personally, I mean, the dock is so overpriced; it's ridiculous. I can't imagine their production costs going down that much if if they take the dock out, how much money would they save on that? I mean, probably
Yeah,
not a lot,
I don't think
so
they're really doing themselves a favor in terms of hardware costs when they do that. It's just about getting more Switches into hands so you sell more software.
Another thought I had about the docks, so we've been seeing a lot of special edition bundles, like for Pokemon and Smash, and I think even Diablo, where you have like a special themed dock.
Yeah.
Sell those as just the dock, because we know collectors want them, and I think you'll definitely see an increase in individual dock sales.
Yeah.
If they lower the price to, if they cut the prices in half, then
That's
Because
definitely.
what is a dock, like $80 right now, I think? And that's that's just too much for a hunk of plastic and an HDMI port,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Let me see how much it is here, actually.
On the one hand, I like the idea of having a dock in my living room and then maybe my bedroom whenever I get a bigger TV, just for that value and what have you. But at the same time, as long as the price is that high, I mean, I can always play Switch in bed, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's $100 in.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
really rough. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 80 in the U.S., which is already too much.
Mm-hmm.
So one last stat from the shareholders meeting that came out is that Nintendo is now combined to sell over 10 million of the classic consoles between the NES and the SNES Classic. So people love their stocking stuffers, and I think we can expect an N64 Classic on the way.
Yeah, I would hope so. And I mean, they're not going to have any problem selling those ones either if they just put them out in the store.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I will say this though. It's going to be the NES Classic has competition now in the Switch itself.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
of the online
True.
library, which has more than 20 games now.
Yeah, they've been adding 3 a month. It launched with 20, and then they've been adding 3 to 4 a month. And they probably anticipated that and expect the NES Classic sales to die down. But they've already got the SNES Classic there, and then once they hopefully start introducing SNES games to the Switch, then that would probably be the appropriate time to launch the N64 Classic. Just kind of keep that money train rolling with new products.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely get an N64 Classic though, mainly because I love those controllers. If they just make a controller that doesn't break when I play Mario Party 1,
Yeah, that's going to be
For real.
All right, and then our final highlight from the shareholders meeting is that the new Nintendo president, Shuntaro Furukawa, talked a little bit about plans for the future and how he wants to expand the Nintendo brand, including he wants more online focus and he wants Nintendo to release more DLC going forward. And again, I think some people are kind of taking a worst-case scenario viewing of this and thinking, oh, Nintendo is going to be like microtransactions everywhere. And I don't think that's what he's saying, but it's clear that Nintendo used to be very anti-DLC, and then they kind of slowly put their foot in the water. And then, now I think they've seen just how profitable it is, and so it's going to keep coming. And we'll talk about it a little later, but they've already announced some DLC for Smash Bros., so we'll get into that soon. But I'm glad to hear that they're aiming for a little more focus on online play, because, now that you're charging for Nintendo Switch Online, I think you really have to, show the community that you're going to make that a robust service that's worth investing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And it's DLC is one of those always hot topics, contested, controversial topics.
I can hear my inner Jim Sterling going nuts.
From what we've seen so far from Nintendo, they've been pretty good when it comes to DLC. I think most people will definitely purchase, all the Smash characters and the little stages and music bundles for sure. And then, when it comes to DLC in general, I'm of the opinion that it really is our fault. If we keep buying it, then they'll keep making it.
I can't
it's
disagree.
As simple as that. It's just, yeah, I mean, if you want to see an end to microtransactions, do not engage with them. Just don't.
Yeah, so I'm just generally of the opinion that DLC's fine so long as A, the product you bought on launch day feels like a completed product, and B, they started, they didn't start advertising the DLC until after launch. Like, I hate it when a game is 3 months away from launch and they're already trying to tell you about, like, upcoming DLC packs. It's like, well, clearly your attention's divided and you're not focused on delivering a quality and complete package on launch day. So, it feels like it's in bad faith then if they immediately start offering DLC before the package.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you do a thing like they're doing with Smash Bros. Like, hey, buy this game in the first month of its release and you'll get the first DLC pack for free because it's coming somewhat soon. I think that's a good practice.
Like, to deviate from Nintendo, for an example, I remember having very mixed feelings on my interest in Spider-Man for PS4, because, like, on the one hand, it looked great, but they definitely, like, advertised Season Pass, Digital Deluxe, all that stuff. So I was thinking, do I get it now, or should I just wait for the complete edition and save a few bucks? But then my roommate got it, so we're good. But but yeah, and then I did actually end up enjoying, like, the full game well enough that I was like, you know what, Season Pass looks really good. I'll do it just because this actually looks like a solid addition to an already quality and complete product. So and I was really impressed with a lot of the new ideas that they kind of threw into the Black Cat story DLC. So high hopes for that.
Yeah, so it's a case-by-case basis for me, and so far Nintendo hasn't been too egregious. And we've even seen, like, with ARMS and Splatoon, where they were willing to give a year's worth of free DLC. So that's another thing that I hope they continue, is looking at some of their online games as, like, this ongoing service where they continue engaging with their players with new content. So I'm hoping that's more of what Nintendo's new president mean when he says, let's focus on online. I'm hoping it's more of that, let's actually build a good online community where people want to keep investing in it because, like, they're having a good time playing with their friends and getting new content, whether it's free or paid, but worth it.
All right, time to place your bets. Do you think that they're gonna make in-game voice chat?
For a specific game?
without a stupid for any game.
Probably
without
not
a stupid
this generation.
smartphone app.
Oh, like without the app?
Yeah, they seem pretty happy with the app, so I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, like we had one exception with Fortnite, but that's third party, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. Third-party developers it might be opened up to, but Nintendo seems pretty intent on and using the app because I guess it's, easier to keep you from getting sworn at by other kids or something.
It's my worst nightmare.
All right, so moving on, we've got a little bit of really intriguing and super spoilerish news. So I'm gonna try to keep things as vague as possible so as not to give away too much. But Toby Fox, who is the creator of indie sensation Undertale, took to Twitter and was teasing some things this week. He implied that he had some kind of big reveal coming up, and then the next day when he officially revealed it, he launched a new website called Deltarune with a download that was labeled as a survey. But then when you download it, you find out that survey is actually a game, or at least an extremely sizable demo for a game. It takes maybe roughly 3 hours to complete. And it is not exactly a sequel, not exactly a prequel, a sort of spiritual successor to Undertale. And it is a ton of fun. I don't want to give away too many specifics of the gameplay and everything. You can go get it for yourself on Deltarune.com and play it totally for free. So then you can spoil it for yourself at your own pace. But yeah, he's hoping to turn it into a full game eventually. It's a demo right now. But he basically came out and did a follow-up post where he said, look, I just wanted to show you what I've been working on, but I made Undertale almost completely by myself, and this game is too big and too ambitious for me to do that. So he's sort of using this demo as like a recruitment post to find talented developers that want to team up with him and help him make this game.
Hell of a strategy.
Yeah, it's a bold new take on building a team, I guess. So I'm really hoping that he gets a team assembled, because this feels like it has the same tone as Undertale, but it does a lot of new and interesting things, and it seems to be sort of loosely connected to it story-wise, but, the demo just does just enough to keep you interested without spoiling really any kind of connection. And I'm just frustrated that if this does come to fruition at all, it's probably going to be several years from now. So I feel like he's done a great job of putting fans in a state where they're going to be obsessing and going crazy over this for years to come while they wait for any hint of another chapter releasing.
Yeah. And, of course, this technically isn't on Nintendo as far as podcast goes, but we did just get Undertale on Switch, so close enough.
It's very Earthbound inspired too. Toby used to make Earthbound hacks before he started, making his own original projects. So
very true.
A lot of Nintendo fans have been digging Undertale and have been digging the Earthbound vibes. So if you are a fan of Undertale or of Earthbound, definitely check out Deltarune. It's free. It's worth your time.
Yeah, I guess so. We'll avoid spoilers for this episode, but I pretty much spent my whole Halloween evening on it and absolutely loved it. So
you have like a conspiracy theory board going with yarn connecting photographs and stuff. And then we got one final story before we dive into our discussion segment. And this one's actually a little bit older, but we just kind of missed it because, like I said, I was away in the magical land of Toronto. But Capcom has announced that Resident Evil 0, 1, and 4 are all coming to Switch in 2019. And I'm super stoked because I've been port begging for 4 since the Switch launched.
Will it just be a straight-up port, or will it be some sort of enhancement, like HD, Super,
well, they were
Mega, all items
all of
version?
those games were pretty recently re-released on PS4 and Xbox One, so I assume it'll be roughly the same build as that, but probably scaled back a little bit.
Yeah, all 3 of those games have been pretty consistently ported for the last couple of generations of PlayStation and Xbox. I did end up grabbing the 0 and 1 double pack for PS4 around the same time that 7 came out, so I might be good there, but as far as Resident Evil 4, I will absolutely triple dip on that following GameCube and Wii. So yeah.
Yeah, I played the Wii version. It was cool. So I'm hoping for an equally cool Switch port, and if it's cool enough, maybe I'll get it.
Like I remember the Revelations ports for Switch also used motion controls along the lines of RE4 for Wii, and I didn't actually try that a whole lot, but I imagine they'll at least work that into 4. Wouldn't really work for 0 and 1 being older Resident Evil. But yeah, I'm excited at the idea of finally grabbing the HD version, assuming it's that, and I'm glad I ended up not doing the PS4 impulse purchase.
Yeah, so I probably won't get 0, 1, or 1 just because I'm garbage at tank controls and fixed camera angles, but 4 and Revelations are my 2 favorite in the series. So, like you said, I'm hoping that they work in the motion controls and then also give you the option to just play with a Pro Controller, because I'll probably beat it through in both modes. It's a fantastic game.
Absolutely.
So, I've beaten it with the Wii controls, I've beaten it with standard controls, and I like them both. So, and now we get it on the go.
Yes.
All right, so now we can finally dive into our main discussion topic for the night, which is that Super Smash Bros. Just got a big Nintendo Direct, 40-minute long, packed
Indeed
with lots of announcements. So, yeah, before we dive into any specifics, do any of you guys have just sort of quick one-sentence reactions to the Direct as a whole?
I have a 10-sentence reaction. Does that... As a whole, does that count? Yeah,
Go for it.
Do it.
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing: Nintendo is occasionally brilliant at marketing strategy. The way they revealed Smash Ultimate was brilliant. The previous Direct was absolutely amazing. The Smash one. This one, not as much. And I think they made quite. This is also a Nintendo thing where sometimes they just kind of drop the ball a bit in their marketing game. Some people, I think, myself included, felt slightly disappointed in this Direct. But it's not because the Direct in itself was bad, it's because the previous Smash Direct was so mind-blowingly amazing. And then here's another 40 minutes, that's also going to be amazing. And it's it was good, but it didn't have any of the really cool character reveals like Simon or King K. Rool. I think they should have saved one of those for this one.
Yeah, that's
for
been
sure.
a common sentiment I've been seeing, is that it felt like the... Well, why don't we just say it? Ken and Incineroar were revealed as the final launch characters, so we can break them down in a little bit. But just for starters, neither one of them, I think, were like really at the top of people's hype list. So it did feel a little weird that for the direct, right before the game releases or just a month before the game releases, that they didn't drop someone, like you said, like a King K. Rool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you really want to finish that hype train on top.
Yeah, you want to keep building all the way up until launch. And I agree. I would say the last Direct was a little bit more exciting than this one, but there was still some things in this. Well, one thing in particular that really had me hyped, which was the World of Light mode that they revealed at the end. So we can dive into that in a little bit. But if you have more to say, keep elaborating.
Yeah, no, I think it summarized it pretty well. It's just that, and this has, of course, nothing to do with Sakurai or the teams. They're doing a fantastic job on the game.
Yes,
it's just Nintendo. Just sometimes they make strange marketing decisions, and this was one of them.
It definitely rejuvenated my hype, I would say. But I can see where people are coming from on kind of like the scale of character reveals or progression. Although we at least, did get the novelty of the obligatory WTF character.
Yes. I love that Piranha Plant as a character in this. I don't get why anyone's complaining. He looks so derpy and hilarious, and like his moveset actually looks good, and I can't wait to name him Audrey 2 and play as him all the time. And I love that he's free. I mean, it's as long as you buy the game within whatever it is, the first month or whatever, but I am always a fan of free DLC.
Okay, is anyone really happy that he's Piranha Plant and not PD Piranha? Mm-hmm. I'm happy about that. It makes him
Piranha
derpier.
is like his final smash too, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, very much based off his Subspace iteration. I will say, as far as getting the game, I'm so frustrated right now because I can't find any actual working pre-orders for like the special edition with the Steelbook and the Pro Controller. And it's like, Nintendo, why won't you let me give you my money?
They're bad at that sometimes.
That's also a common Nintendo mistake.
So, in general, in terms of the new characters, not super stoked about Ken. I didn't play much as Ryu in the Wii U version, but I will say, when I used to play Street Fighter Alpha 2 quite a bit, Ken was my main, so I'll definitely try him out, play as him. I like that they've distinguished him from Ryu a little bit. He's faster, and he's got some different attacks. He's more kick-focused. So I'll give him a shot, and I'm sure I'll like him better than Ryu, but I don't know if he'll make it into sort of my mains.
Good save on Ryu there. Yeah.
And then with Incineroar, never been my favorite Pokemon, but I really appreciate the fact that all his moves are so like wrestling oriented. He's like this up close like melee fighter character, but he's not just like your typical Pokemon. It's interesting to me that they incorporated so many like wrestling slams and even like throwing them up against the ropes and stuff. Like that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I love all the little things they've added on a character by character basis. Like when they announced that yesterday, as a lapsed Pokemon player, my reaction was, "Who's that again?" But definitely, once I finally got to watch the Direct, I loved all the little things, like his wrestling poses and victory stances, or like as we previously saw, I guess both Ryu and Ken for one-on-one matches will always be facing the opponent Street Fighter style, or even where I was really impressed, like I think Link, his Master Sword being the Breath of the Wild version, will light up around Ganondorf, much like all the malice effects in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, cool. I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I knew like he has different bombs now, and he can shoot 2 arrows at once if you go pick up an arrow stuck into the ground.
Can't he?
So those are all cool touches.
Yeah, can't he also do... I think he can do a sword beam also if he's
that's right.
Yes, that was it. That's awesome.
Which, I mean, that's going to last for like 5 seconds, but it's still fun.
It's just a nice little touch.
Absolutely.
And then we've also got 5 paid DLC fighters coming, which we touched on briefly, but they're going to release them in packs over the course of about a year or so. And so you'll get a new character, a new stage, and several new songs with each pack. And then I believe they're $6 a piece, or you can buy the sort of like season pass where you get all of the character stages and songs for $25, I believe, which like saves you like $5, I think. So, and again, I appreciate that they specified, we haven't started working on these yet. We're going to put the game out first, and then they're all going to be built from scratch, and none of them are going to be Echo Fighters. I'm really glad that they, elaborated on all of that information and, made it clear that, like, hey, we're not just holding back characters that, you could have had at launch.
Yeah, exactly.
And Sakurai was, like, so apologetic and tentative, like, only buy this if you're confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's they're creating a lot of goodwill for their DLC policy right now, at least. So I think that's good, and I think also that I can only imagine that especially the character DLC for Smash 4 did probably really well financially. Yeah. So I have to imagine that it'll keep doing well, especially when they get it in packs. Because I was one of those people. I got all the stages and all the characters, because that's what really matters. And then I got a few Mii outfits that I thought were nifty.
Yeah, I don't play Mii fighters enough to really justify going out and buying some packs, but, maybe if they have some cool packs for characters that I was hoping to play as and I can dress as them instead, then, why not? But
yeah, I got Knuckles just so I could do the Bluckles character from the Yukino Joe short. Do you think that they'll do a kind of a polling thing that they did last time with which characters you would like to see and why, or do you think that the data they collected last time is quite sufficient to give them an idea of what the audience
maybe
wants?
They'll do it again, but I think they'll probably more likely just sort of bank on the one they did last time, because they even came out and said, like, yeah, we might just hold on to this data and use it for future games as well. But then again, it's been, 5 years or so, and so you got, a lot of new fans, and then also you have a lot of new young fans, and then also Switch has been really good at appealing to those lapsed gamers who, owned an N64 but haven't owned a console since then. So if those people didn't own a Wii U, then they might have a different idea of, what characters should be as DLC. They might want to see some characters that were popular in the 90s that have kind of faded away since then make their big glorious return on Switch. So I think there could be value in doing another poll, but I don't know if they will, just because they already have so much data from the last one.
Yeah, and I mean they did obviously Bayonetta last game, and I am fairly certain that King K. Rool was also one of those highly requested titles that they put into this game. Ridley, of course, is another one.
Too big for Smash. So then we also learned that a lot of characters that were sort of rumored to possibly be in the game will not, because, well, they will, but not as playable characters. They'll be assist trophies instead. So, like, we got confirmation of Shadow the Hedgehog and Isaac from Golden Sun, which that's a little disappointing. I think he could make a good fighter, but still, representation is representation. And then Springman from ARMS is in, Guile from Street Fighter. So there's going to be a ton of assist trophies. Looks like 59 in total. So even players that don't make it in as a playable character, still, it's nice to see them in there representing their franchise and being part of the action.
Yeah, I very much expected Springman / Ribbon Girl to be a playable fighter. And I don't know if it's because they feel like, I don't know, maybe those characters would be too similar to Little Mac, but just with longer reach, maybe? I don't know. Or because, I don't know, how well has ARMS done? Like, has it done, is it popular enough to warrant a character slot in
I know
Smash?
It sold at least 1 million. I think it got to 2 million, but I'm not certain. So, decent, not like, a blockbuster, but 1 to 2 million is about what the average Metroid title sells, for example.
All right, yeah. I mean, we'll see, I guess. And it's one of those things where next time around there's a Smash game, whenever that will be, it might be a while now. You never know. We have plenty of assist trophies that have started out that way and then become playable characters.
Yeah, and even like, Splatoon was incredibly popular on Wii U, but they waited until, the Switch iteration to actually give us inklings as playable characters. So, it might take them a while before they're willing to trust a young franchise enough to give it representation in Smash.
Yeah, that's fair enough. On a complete side note, what unexpected character I expected and did not get? I expected Miss Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Just like as an alternate or an echo?
Yeah, because Sakurai would totally do that.
Yeah, like that at least would have been cool as like the alternate skins.
So, in addition to lots of new characters and assist trophies, we also got the revelation of a couple new modes. So there's the Spirit mode, and then also the new World of Light adventure mode. So what do you guys think about Spirit mode?
Are they kind of the same thing? Kind of?
I mean, I think they're supposed to be sort of loosely connected story-wise, but there are two different modes.
Yeah. What I took away from that was the way they initially introduced Spirit mode. It seemed to have a lot of parallels to in Smash Wii U. You had the special orders with where you would like basically gamble on items and then eventually fight Master Hand or Crazy Hand for sort of a winner-take-all scenario. And just the menu reminded me a lot of that, so I think that's what they're going for. And then it looks like...
Felt like stickers to me.
That too. That too,
stickers.
yeah. And it looks like that's... For as far as World of Light, it'll be like an upgraded version of the sticker system in that, which left a lot to be desired, so seems like a good upgrade.
Yeah, so I'm not super crazy about Spirit mode. I feel like that's one of those ones that I'll dabble with a little and then probably move on from, but I appreciate Nintendo putting it in there just because of, like, you know, how many crazy scenarios you can have where you know, collect these different characters almost Pokemon style and then level them up and they give you, you know, boosts in battle to fight against, you know, whatever, like Giant Bowser or something. So anytime you're bringing more characters together for weird team-ups and weird battles, it's great. You know, more content, more options. But I'm super excited about World of Light. That looks really good to me. But we can dive into that a little more in a second if you guys have more to say about Spirit mode first.
Yes. So there was a lot of mixed reception, at least that I saw, of they framed that as an alternative to the collectible trophies that we've had since Melee.
Yeah.
And that was interesting because they framed it as, or I think what they said was that they took a long time to complete, and then you have a lot more for each iteration. So from a labor standpoint, and especially in the wake of things like Rockstar overworking people for Red Dead 2, I can kind of appreciate them going for a lighter stance
Sakurai
on that.
messing up both of his arms during the Wii U production, too.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, I can only imagine how many Red Dead horse parts, shall we say, those trophies would have translated to by this round.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little weird the way they framed it as, you know, who needs trophies? We're doing this instead. So, you know, people are going to miss their trophies or whatever. But this game has so much content in it. I'm not personally bothered by it. It's just, you know, a new thing to collect instead of the trophies.
Yeah.
But I think it should still scratch that collector's itch.
Yeah. On the same note, I think someone out there will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but I also wasn't crazy about how the trophy collecting worked in Smash 4, because you had, like, that shop, but if I'm remembering correctly, a lot of times some of the trophies for sale would be ones that you already had, something I didn't realize until pretty late in the game, and so I found myself going, okay, well, I can just take my chances on this, or I can go cross-reference to see whether I have it or not, and that just got tedious. So given how many more trophies we would have had, I'm not devastated by the loss.
All right, so then for World of Light, man, that opening cinematic was freaking awesome, and it honestly it gives me a lot of hope for, you know, Nintendo branching out into doing movies and TV shows, because they had pretty consistently good cinematics for all the Wii U character reveals too. So, but yeah, just, you know, the sky opens up and you see all those Master Hands, and there's like this almost Infinity War style showdown where you got all the heroes gathered together, and then they just all get wiped out, except for Kirby, of course, because nepotism, and he's Sakurai's favorite.
Yes. And then we did have that amazing Infinity War mashup. Holy crap.
Yeah, someone on YouTube put that together. It's beautiful. And then, you know, after, you know, Kirby escapes from the Master Hand onslaught and everything, you actually sort of get into the gameplay of the mode. And it looks, to me, you know, it looks great. You know, we have this giant, beautifully drawn board with lots of different environments that borrow from lots of different games. It looks like you kind of move around the game board, taking on different challenges in order to save your sort of spirit friends and, like, return them back to normal. And then I assume recruit them as playable characters. And, you know, it looks like you can sort of interact with the map quite a bit as you go, too, which is always a plus to me.
Yeah, so essentially what this mode is, it's Subspace Emissary remake.
Yeah, a little bit.
It has pretty much the exact same story. where all the heroes gets taken and evil clones are made of them, and you have to free them.
Same basic framework.
And potentially with voice acting, if that trailer was any indication.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many cutscenes we're going to get, because I know Sakurai was very upset about the fact that with Subspace Emissary, they put so much time and effort into them, and then they all just sort of got uploaded to YouTube, and he felt like it ruined the surprise. But that cutscene was so high quality. I'm hoping that there's more like that.
Yeah, I feel like they've kind of embraced it now, and I think, especially, like you said, they've been very consistent with the character reveals and everything. I think that they have poured some more money and staff into animation, and that those guys are really liking what they're doing, and that they enjoy doing it. And I think they also realize that those cutscenes, they're just nice. They create a lot of hype and good marketing value overall. So, but yeah, like I was saying, it's. This is a remake of Subspace Emissary, even down to the villain, which is like a mysterious, glowy winged thing, which is exactly like in Subspace Emissary. And you have Kirby as the lone survivor, which is also exactly like in Subspace Emissary.
Again, just nepotism from Sakurai.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. The difference, though, is that this seems a lot better for the reasons that you mentioned, Ben, and which is that, for one, you're moving around a game board now, and there seems to be some minor puzzles to be solved to keep going, which is a lot better than the kind of Kirby-styled adventure stages that they had in Subspace.
Yeah, definitely.
Which could be a bit, which were a bit tedious.
I always prefer, a hub
times.
world to operate from, especially one that you can interact with over just like a level select screen or something, or just, moving from level to level, door to door. And it looks like they put so much time and detail into creating this map, and it looks massive as well.
Yeah. Right, and there seems to be perhaps some optional paths you can take. You're going to decide, I'm going to take on this enemy first, or that enemy first. And then also the spirit system, which makes it each battle more unique. So it's not just I'm fighting Mario. Oh no, I'm fighting Mario and Link. Oh, now I'm fighting giant Diddy Kong. It's like no. You're gonna have a ton of more varieties. I would expect them to sort of scrap the events mode, and they've baked that in to this mode. So events were always fun, because events were exactly this thing where you'll find yourself in a crazy kind of scenario where it's like, now you're fighting a giant Bowser with a giant Donkey Kong in a city because we like monster movies.
Yeah, and it's cool because I don't think you had a campaign. Well, you didn't have campaign, or I don't think event mode in Smash 4, at least not like in Melee or Brawl. So it is cool to see like a.
You had events, yes.
Yeah, well, it's been a while, so events. But in any case, it's cool to see that combo.
Yeah, it looks really good, and it looks fun. And I'm thinking there's been a lot of people didn't really like Subspace that much, but I think it was more the execution of it. I think everyone really enjoys all their favorite Nintendo characters coming together for some kind of big epic story that they can have fun with.
Yeah, it's the beauty of Smash, just creating these insane video game moments that you just can't get anywhere else, because you have all these superstar characters gathered in one place, and it's like you can do whatever you want with them. Like you said, you can have a giant Donkey Kong battle in the city or something, because it's Smash Bros. We have that freedom.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of game facts, game FAQs, whatever you want to call it. Always did this annual character battle through their polls, and it would almost always come down every year to Link versus Cloud, and then with the Smash 4 DLC, you finally got to do that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like making our dreams come true once again, from when we were little '90s kids playing our crappy N64s to now having like all these characters and these big beautiful HD fights. It's awesome. It's our childhoods come to life.
You know what one event's gonna be, or like one spirit? It's gonna be a floaty cloud in a sky stage.
Probably.
That's gonna be an event.
Just for the pun.
Yep.
All right. Do you guys have any final thoughts about the Direct?
Online mode's looking good.
Yeah, so they guess they got rid of the for fun / for glory distinction, and they're just kind of going to match you up with people who have similar interests and a similar score, which, I think that's a pretty good system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fine. I mainly play with friends anyway online, so it seems like Nintendo is kind of more and more really, for the core gameplay at least, they're really starting to pay attention for more online stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to Splatoon and Mario Kart and these kinds of games, and Smash's online has always been so. I just want, a lot of cool options, some online tournaments, and a decently stable connection.
That's true.
Not a lot of lag. That's all I want.
That's true. I never had much luck with wireless battles for Brawl or Smash 4, 3DS, or Wii U, and I think that's actually the reason I stopped playing Splatoon 1 on Wii U was I didn't have a LAN adapter, and so just I felt like it. Each time I tried to play on Wi-Fi, it just got worse and worse, and I would have more dropped matches. So the nice thing is I've had a lot better luck with Switch Wi-Fi, but yeah, I think I will need to finally throw down on an adapter just to be safe.
Yeah, and so, when Nintendo's president says we want to really focus on online this generation and going forward, Smash is one of the titles where you can really prove that. Like, hey, you guys are paying for online now, so we're gonna show you what we can do. We're gonna show you that we're actually a part of the 21st century now. We're not the old Nintendo.
That's true. They definitely need that motivation after how awkward the shift to online has been, or paid online rather.
All right. Well, overall, I would say, I agree with you guys. The Direct was, a little up and down. Character reveals weren't, mind-blowing or anything. But to me, World of Light has me so hyped. Like, the cutscene and then seeing the footage of the mode itself, it is just about everything I could ask for in a Smash Bros. Like, adventure campaign and everything. So, despite the start of the Direct being a little bit of a lull, I think by the end it succeeded in sort of reigniting my hype. And so we've got about a month left to go, and then I'm ready to kick both of your guys' butts in some online Smash.
Yes.
I think we both know that's not going to happen.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode of Switched On. So we'll be sort of paying attention to how much Nintendo news there is rolling out in the next couple weeks, and then figuring out from there whether we want to keep doing this weekly or bi-weekly. Just in terms of, in the time it takes to prepare and write and record and edit an episode and everything, we might stick to bi-weekly for a little while and just try to, have more long-form discussions and make sure that we always have, plenty of news to work with for each episode. And then, of course, we're also going to continue working on our more general podcast, Gamnesia After Dark, where we'll talk about stuff outside of Nintendo. That includes, Sony and Microsoft, of course, but also TV shows, movies, and just in general what's going on in our lives. So if you want to get to know the Gamnesia staff a little more, you can check out that podcast as well.
And how dare you not mention PC games?
Yeah, there's that too, I guess. Hombre can talk about his PC games. No, we respect gamers of all platforms. All right, so if you want to follow any of us on Twitter, I'm on Twitter at Erimgard, ERIMGARD. Will?
I'm at AWK043, that's AWK043.
And Hombre?
Twitter is canceled.
All right, so he will not be doing Twitter. I think that wraps it up for us, so until next week, have a good time. Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.